Hello guys, Robot1 here, coming at you with a new Yu-Gi-Oh video along with Charmander in the background as always. And in today's Yu-Gi-Oh video, we're going to be talking about a subject that I've kind of been thinking about because I've realized one thing when it comes to this format right now, and that is there is one engine in almost every single deck you see in this format, and that engine is the adventure package. And honestly, not everybody has £350 to spend on a whole engine, especially seeing as like Aqua Enchantresses and Rite of Armisias go for like £60-50 a piece, and it's just like, yeah, I don't think everybody wants to spend that kind of money on 6 cards, let alone just a small engine to play in any deck that they have. So today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 decks that don't actually play the adventure engine and actually don't need the adventure engine to be competitive, to be strong, and to just be able to win locals or even regional level events. Because yes, this engine is very, very good and can make things like Based possible, can make PK Adventure possible, can make Prank Kids Adventure possible, but let's be honest, no one wants to be spending £350 on an entire engine. Not even I spent £350 on this. I got this cheap because I got it on release. So yeah, we're going to be talking about 5 decks in this format that you can play that are very competitive and very strong, that don't need the Brave engine to actually be played and actually win tournaments or any games or anything along those lines. So let's go ahead and get into it now. So the first deck that we're going to be talking about in this video is actually Elderlich, because Eldlich is a very, very strong contender this format that doesn't need to play the Brave package in any way, shape or form to actually be able to win tournaments. And why is this? Well, for starters, Eldlich is a deck that's very, very versatile and can be played in a lot of different ways. You can play multiple different variants such as the Souls build, an invoked build, you could play a hand trap build, or you could just play a pure trap build, which personally I think is the best way to go with Elderlich. And mainly because you have access to a lot of really strong trap cards in the game already, such as free skill drain. Nobody likes it, and 9 times out of 10 if you flip a skill drain, you're going to win the game. So honestly, Eldlich with that is very strong on its own, but it also has other really strong trap cards like Ice Dragon Prison. You want to deal with a DPE? Well, they chain DPE effect, then you chain Ice Dragon's Prison and go ahead and banish their Celestial and the DPE, so they're gone. Oh, you want to deal with a ton of monsters on the board? Flip Torrential Tribute. Oh, you want to just use Eldlich traps in general? You got Halquero to banish cards from the graveyard, and you got Conquistador to actually destroy cards. Honestly, Eldlich is a very, very strong deck this format and is a great contender if you don't want to have to play like really big expensive hand traps and really big expensive boss monsters, because you can literally just build an Eldritch deck for pretty cheap, and Skill Drain even got the reprint, so you can get copies of Skill Drain for very cheap as well. So it makes a lot of sense to just probably pick up Eldlich at some point and actually try it. And if you also want to spend a little bit more on the deck as well, you could also pick up free Heavenly Prisons, which are just a very strong card in general, because it says, oh yeah, reveal it, all my face down cards are now undestroyable. So yeah, you have that Lightning Storm, you have that Duster. Well, it's not gonna work on my cards. So yeah, Eldlich is a very, very strong pick to play this format, and definitely doesn't need the Brave engine to play. Sure, you can play it with the Brave engine, but I think it's better with just a pure trap build or with like a Souls build in general, because you can just get so much more advantage out of it that way, and you can just flip your trap cards and win the game from there. So yeah, that's the first deck I wanted to talk about. Let's go on to the next. Next deck that we're actually going to be talking about is Adamancipator, and honestly, this deck definitely doesn't need Brave. This deck can go into insane boards, insane combos, just by literally normal summoning one Adamancipator Tuna Monster. You know why? Because you can go into the Risen Dragite to get you more Tuna Monsters. You can excavate stuff at the top of your deck to get more advantage. You can end on boards that normally end with a Crystal Wing, Halki Firebrax to go into a Formula Synchron, which goes into Baroness, and also stuff like Battle Butler with double Raigeki, and potentially DPE if you choose to play that package. And honestly, the fact that you can do a lot of the things in Adamancipator just for the fact that it says, oh, excavate 5, summon a rock, and go from there is really really powerful. And Adamancipator can do this with one card 9 times out of 10. So you never need the Brave Engine, because you literally just go normal summon my Analyzer, activate cards. Oh, I hit a rock, sick, go into the Risen Raptite. Oh, then we go ahead and activate again. Oh, we hit a tuner, we're gonna go even further. Oh, with the 2 tuners that we could have gotten, or more level 4s, we go ahead and make the Granite to go ahead and search the last tuner and summon that, and then go even further as well. Like, honestly, this deck has so much consistency, so much advantage, can make such a good end board that I think this deck is literally one of the best decks to play without the Brave Engine, just because, oh yeah, I'm going to go off almost 9 times out of 10, and the only times I won't go off is the unfortunate circumstances is when you whiff and don't hit a rock. But don't worry, because even if you do whiff, you can still play 9 times out of 10, because you'll either have a second tuner monster, or you normal summoned a rock and then special summoned your Researcher or Analyzer or anything along those lines from your hand, which will allow you to just go ahead and combo off even further. So the deck is really strong. It has a very good end board. Like, playing Prank Kids with it is really strong. Playing non-Prank Kid build, you can go ahead and add Satellite Warrior and other stuff into it that make it more consistent. Like, this deck has a lot of different ways to be played, and is definitely a very cool choice if you don't want to spend that big money on the Brave Engine. So yeah, Adamancipator, a very cool deck. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so the next deck we're going to be talking about is actually the deck that managed to win the regional that I recently judged, and that is Sky Striker. And honestly guys, Sky Striker this format, very strong choice, and definitely doesn't need the Brave Engine, because it's going to take up your main monster zone, so you can't use any of your Sky Striker cards. So why is this deck actually really strong this format, and is just really insane and can win even regionals pretty easily? And the point behind this is that it just has a lot of really good engine cards that can just interrupt the opponent and help you win the game. Oh, you're looking at your opponent's board? Well, I'm just going to try and break it. I'm going to activate stuff like Afterburners. I'm going to activate stuff like Lightning Storm. I'm going to activate stuff like Evenly Matched. Cards that allow me to break my opponent's board. Oh, I'm going first? Well, then I'm going to go ahead and make cards like DPE to pop my opponent. I'm going to go ahead and play Ray, which will allow me to get Shizuka. I'm going to set Widow Anchor. I'm going to play Imperms and Hand Traps. This deck has a lot of different lines of play and a lot of different things it can actually do. And the best part about this deck, it's got the only legal pot of greed in the game that says, oh yeah, I have no disadvantages. All I need is 3 spells in the grave and I can get 2 cards. I don't banish any cards. I don't lose any cards. I just go ahead and add a card and draw a card. And what can you say to that? That's literally just free advantage and very strong. And in a deck that's literally just an advantage engine, a value engine that just breaks boards and can literally just gain more advantage as the game goes along and win grind games very easily, let's be honest, it's a very strong contender. And the fact that you can play a ton of hand traps in it, you can play floodgates in it, you can play just board breaking cards in it very easily, definitely means this is a strong contender to be playing this format, and definitely something you guys should consider playing, especially seeing as, well, it's a very strong deck and can definitely just wallop a lot of the top contenders currently in the game, such as Based, Adventure PK, and all of this other stuff that is just running around. So Sky Striker, very strong choice. Definitely a deck that does not need the Brave Engine. And yeah, it's just a really good deck. And if you like your waifu Ray, player. So yeah. So, what's a very strong normal summon deck this format that doesn't need the Brave Engine, will actually die if it uses the Brave Engine, and can't do its best play if you activate Rite of Armisia? What is that? Well, that deck is Invoked, and definitely does not play the Adventure package in any way, shape, or form, because as soon as you go ahead and activate that Rite of Armisia, you cannot normal summon Alistair to search your invocation, so you're going to lose the game. Yes, Invoked is a very strong choice to be playing this format for a lot of different reasons. One, Dogmatica engine, absolutely insane engine. Being able to drain your opponent's extra deck with cards like Maximus is really strong. Being able to add Ecclesia from your deck to your hand, which will allow you to get punishment, very good. Being able to get cards like Fleur de Lis that will just affect value your opponent's card, also very strong. Now, Dear Servant being one of the most consistent plus cards in the game that can make your board even stronger because it allows you to get access to Winder, very good. Invoked can play this engine, which makes it strong because it just gives you access to Winder, it gives you access access to all the good cards in the Dogmatica engine. It gives you the recyclability of stuff like Omega, the pop ability of Unce. It gives you a lot of different cards that are very, very strong. What else does it do that Invoked can do? It gives you Omni Negates. What does Alistair literally say? I go ahead and normal myself, I go ahead and link myself off into a Secure Gardener, I make Mechaba, I have a negate. Very, very strong, right? Being able to end on stuff like Winder, Maximus, Mechaba, and that's not the end of it, because this deck can also play, guess what, the DPE package very easily as well, because you literally have so much space in this deck that it doesn't matter what cards you're playing. You could literally play 5 engines and Invoked would still be able to play with all those engines, because, well, it has so much space. You can fit all the Dogmatica cards, you can fit an entire DPE package in it, you can fit all your Invoked cards, obviously, and guess what, you still have room for like 9 to 12 hand traps 9s out of 10 as well. Like, there's no reason why Invoked shouldn't be played this format. It's definitely able to do well in the format if obviously you go first and you know what you're up against and you know how to play the deck correctly. And we've already seen it be able to top events in America, we've seen it top events here in the UK. It is a very, very strong deck, and definitely a deck worth looking at if you don't want to have to pay all that money for the Brave package. Sure, you got to get money for like the Invoked package and also the Dogmatica package, but let's be honest, you could probably build an entire Invoked deck for the same price as free Right of Armisia and also free Aqua Enchantress. So what would you rather have? 6 cards to play Brave, or an entire deck that you could play and definitely top your locals or go to a regional and do very well with? So yeah, Invoked is definitely a very strong deck this format. It has a lot of potential, a lot of power, and definitely a deck that you guys should be playing if you don't want to spend all that money, because it's definitely a smart choice. It can play a ton of hand traps, and let's be honest, if you're summoning Alistair, you're gonna do it to win. And yeah, 5 years of Alistair might not be your thing, but it's definitely a deck worth playing if you don't want to spend all that money on Brave and get just a fully competitive deck out of that £300. So yeah, Invoked, very strong, definitely a choice that you should consider if you don't want to buy the Brave engine and get a whole deck instead. And yeah, let's go ahead and go on to the last deck we're actually going to be looking at in this video. Okay guys, so what is the last deck we're going to be talking about in this video? What is the deck that literally scoffs at the adventure package? What is the deck that literally looks at Brave and says, you're not brave enough for us, we don't need you, you're gonna ruin us if we play you? What's the deck that can literally top, win, do anything it wants at events, and doesn't even need to touch the Brave engine to be able to do well at these events? And this deck is Swordsoul. Swordsoul is an insane deck this format that literally gets turned off if you activate one Right of Armisia, because you lose out on your Taie effects, your Mo Yi effects, all effects that allow you to go ahead into big synchro monsters, big combo players, to be able to go ahead and play the game in general. So why would you even want the Brave engine in this deck? Because it just does nothing for it. So yeah, Swordsoul is an insane deck this format, can play so many different engines in it to be able to be good. It plays the Auroradon engine that goes ahead and allows it to make big synchro plays to go ahead and get more advantage and abuse Despot 001 Auroradon to go into synchro plays that can just go ahead and make stuff like Boral Savage, can go into synchro 10 plays such as making Baroness or Cheng Ying, can go into so many different synchro options such as 8, 10, 7 even if you really want to. You can make stuff like Yazzie to go ahead and pop opponent's cards, just summon Mo Yi from deck or Taie from deck to go ahead and go into more card plays. Like literally, this deck has a lot of different stuff that it uses with the 10 years, the Despot / Auroradon engine, can play a ton of hand traps, can play up to like 9 hand traps very, very easily, and it's just a very, very strong deck that can end on boards with stuff like Chaofeng to lock your opponent out of darks or light effects, that can go into stuff like Yazzie to go ahead and break opponent's boards by compulsing stuff into the deck, can end on really strong cards such as Cheng Ying to just say, oh yeah, you banished a card from your graveyard, well now I'm going to banish another card from your graveyard and a card from your field. Like honestly, this deck is really, really strong this format, and if you have it, you really don't even need to think about picking up a Brave engine, because this deck is really strong without it. This deck can win regionals, this deck can top regionals, this deck can do a lot at different events and can do a lot at regionals, YCSs, locals even. It wins locals literally all over the country, so I don't know why you wouldn't want to play it. And hell, it even doesn't kind of care about Scythe at times, because you can play around it with all sorts of different cards in the deck, such as Impermanence, Droplets, like all of these cards that, yes, are money, but you can play them and even play budget options like Chalice if you don't have the money for droplets. So this deck is really, really strong. This deck is really, really good and has a lot of different combo potential and a lot of different plays that just says, yeah, we don't need the Brave Engine. It doesn't help. It just hinders us more. So why even play it when we can win events and top events without it? So yeah, that's the last deck I have to talk about in this video. Like, there are honorable mentions, of course, like you play Drytron, you could play literally any deck that doesn't need the Brave Engine. You could play stuff like Grenmarju, you could play Drytron, as I said, you could play the new branded deck that's coming out soon. You could play Misteroon if you wanted to. Like, there are a lot of different things you could play, but these are like the 5 that I wanted to talk about now because these are currently in the game. These are really, really good, and they can all have a very decent chance at topping regionals or more in the future and currently in the game. So yeah, but guys, what's your personal thoughts and opinions? Do you think these decks should play the Brave Engine? Do you think some of them should? Do you think some of them shouldn't? Do you think maybe you have options that you would have put on here that I didn't? Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below because yeah, this is just my thoughts. These are just 5 decks that I think you should play this format that don't need the Brave Engine any way, shape, or form. So if you have them, play them. Or if you want to say some decks that you're already playing that don't play the Brave Engine, say it in the comment section below as well. But guys, that's all I have for this video. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one because, well, yeah, this was a fun video to make. I can't wait to make more content, and I'm trying to pump out as much as I can, guys, even though I'm at like a new job and don't have as much time as before to make content. So I hope you did enjoy. I'll see you in the next one. Robot1 signing out. Later all.